Hi guys, welcome back to Nixie DIY Crafts. Let's make some 4th of July decorations. So I'm starting off with this really simple one. I just bought 4 of these mason jars at the Dollar Tree with their solar lights. And these lids didn't come with them. They come from another mason jar, but they fit perfectly on these Dollar Tree jars as well. So as you can see here, I'm taking off the top of the solar lights, removing the little yellow tag, and just tucking them right into those lids, and then attaching the lids to the jars. Now to decorate, I left mine plain, but as you can see there, I had tried to add the ribbon or even these little stars to see how they look, but because I'll be placing these outside and it's raining every day, I decided to keep them plain. But simple, easy DIY. For the next DIY, we're making a simple door wreath. So I'm using some flowers from the Dollar Tree along with a round wreath frame from Dollar Tree. I'm also using burlap. The burlap I did purchase at Hobby Lobby on clearance for $1.25. So what I'm doing here is just wrapping the burlap around the frame and just wrap until you cover the entire wreath form. My recommendation is, because I did run out of my burlap at the end, is that as you are wrapping it around the wreath form, try to just overlay the edge of the fabric on top of each other, because as you see here, I did run out, but it's no big deal because nobody's gonna see that. That's where I'm gonna add my hook to hang the wreath, and I'm gonna add a big bow there, so nobody's gonna see that I didn't have burlap for that section. Now I'm going to take the flowers and start removing them from the stem. So as you see here, I started with a wire cutter and then quickly realized that I didn't need that. I can just pull them right off the stem so much faster. So that's what I'm doing here. I bought 2 bundles of each color. I bought 2 blues, 2 reds, and 2 whites. Now I bought the blue ones. I bought these type of flowers because they reminded me of little fireworks. So that's why I bought these type of blue ones. For the white and the red, I bought roses. So I'm just pulling them right off the stem and just making groups of my flowers so it's easy for me to start assembling. So you'll see here that I started at the bottom right corner and I'm just alternating the colors. I'm adding the red, I'm adding the white, the red, and the white. Now the hot glue does get very hot, so please be very careful. I'm using here a silicone spoon just to help me push those flowers down, again because it gets really hot. Now here I start adding the blue. My apologies for being off frame. I'm still trying to kind of figure out where to place my camera to record what I'm actually working on when it comes especially to the home decorating pieces. So here I'm just filling it all in with the blue. I love the flower selections that I selected, but the Dollar Tree did have just regular blue roses as well. But for some reason these blue ones just looked like sparkles to me. Once you complete adding all your flowers, now I take these glittery white stars, also purchased at Dollar Tree. So I'm just adding 3 of the white stars to the blue section, just like you see here, also using the hot glue gun. Now to make the bow for our wreath. So I'm using some leftover red Christmas ribbon. I have a pipe cleaner and some burlap 4th of July ribbon. So to make the bow, the first fold, you're just gonna fold about 1 inch over the half mark of your size of the bow. And you're just gonna keep wrapping the ribbon into each other, and your goal is that you want to have 3 loops on each end of your bow. Then I'm taking this burlap ribbon and I'm just cutting 4 strips. First, I take the bow and I'm just going to pinch it in the middle, take my pipe cleaner to secure that into place. Some people like to cut the ribbon in the middle to make little notches. I don't really think it's necessary. You can, but I just leave it as is. Then I take my burlap ribbon, as you see here, and I just place it into a shape of an X. Then I bundle it up in the middle, and then using again the pipe cleaner to attach to my red bow. So the trick here is that you just want to fluff the ribbon around, just move it around, pull the loops out from each other on your bow. The trick to these bows is you just got to keep fluffing them so they can look full. Now you'll notice that I only have one of the tails on my bow, so I'm going to take another piece of ribbon and I'm just going to add a little dab of hot glue to attach it to the back, and then using the pipe cleaner to secure it completely in place. Now I'm going to ducktail my ribbon, so I'm just folding it in half and giving it a trim, and I'm going to do that to the tails along with the burlap ribbon. To finish it off, I add one of those glittery blue stars to the center. So here I place my bow on my wreath and I feel like it's missing something, so I decided to add some white to it. So I have this white organza ribbon that I'm using, and I'm making a bigger bow, and this one I'll attach to the back of the bow. So here, instead of doing the 3 loops on each end, I'm only doing 2 loops on each end, and I'm just tucking it in, pinching it in the middle like you see here, and then I'm attaching it to the back of my bow, again using the pipe cleaner that's already there. And then you just start to fluff your white ribbon. Just pull it out from each other just like I'm doing here, and then just fluff it up, and then you can attach it to your wreath. Before we attach the bow to the wreath, you want to make sure that you add your hook to hang it on the door. So I'm just using a rope that I had available, and I tied it to the back of the wreath. And now here I'll attach my bow, and I'm just using the pipe cleaner that was already on my bow to securely place it in place. And here's our completed wreath. Now for the next DIY. So I wasn't really sure where I was going with this, so I was just kind of winging it. And I liked the ending result, but I was struggling a little bit with what to do with it. But I took a Dollar Tree Valentine heart. Here I'm using this eyelash yarn that I purchased at Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance for like $1.50, I think it was. And I'm just wrapping it just on the upper left corner of my heart, just to add a pop of blue. The yarn I'm attaching with just a little tiny bit of hot glue. Again, just be very careful, it does get hot, so I am using my silicone spoon here to help me push that yarn down. So then I take some more of those glittery stars from the Dollar Tree, and I'm attaching 3 of them to the upper left corner. I used 1 large white one and 2 little ones, as you see here. Now to make a little bow for my heart, I'm just using some blue mesh and some of that burlap ribbon, and I'm just grouping it together. I'm just layering it all up, and then I use a pipe cleaner to secure it all in place. But I just wanted to make a little bundle here so I can attach to the upper right hand corner of my heart. So here I start giving the mesh a little bit of a trim, and then I decide I'm gonna add a star to the center of my bundle. So first I attach my little bundle to the heart using again that pipe cleaner that's already attached, and then I use some hot glue to attach the blue glittery star to the bow. After I do that, I decide that I want to trim my ribbon a little bit more. So here you see me trimming that mesh a little bit more, and then I decide that I want to dovetail the burlap ribbon as well. So that's what I'm doing right now. And here is our completed heart. Now for the next project, I am repurposing again this cracker can that I had decorated for Easter, where I turned this cracker can into a bunny's hat. So here you see me just ripping everything off of the can. I know it's kind of a bad angle for you guys to see what I'm doing, but I'm just pulling all the decorations off and getting the can ready for 4th of July. So usually I don't rip apart my projects, but I wasn't really too happy with the ending results of this one, and I figured I'll recreate something new next year. So here I'm just pulling off all that leftover hot glue from the top of my can. So I was debating if to repaint the can white or if to just Mod Podge something on it so I didn't have to wait for the paint to dry. So that's what I decided to do. I decided to take some of the Dollar Tree banner flags and Mod Podge them to the can. Unfortunately, I lost the footage. So this is what I have left of the footage, which is pretty much the ending result, but it was pretty easy to put together. So all I did was take Mod Podge and brush the Mod Podge right directly onto the can, and then I laid these flags right on top. This paper is really thin to work with. You just gotta work fast but carefully not to rip it because it is very thin. But that packet that came in that Dollar Tree packet, it was like 6 pendant flags. It's like a banner that it's meant to hang on your windows. So I just took 2 of the flags and I'm using them to cover this can. I love repurposing these cracker cans, so don't throw them away anymore. Keep them and save them because I pretty much use one for every holiday. As you saw for Easter, I made a bunny hat. For Christmas, I make a snowman hat. 4th of July, I make the centerpiece. I've even turned one of these cans into a big Elmo head for my daughter's birthday party. I've also done a unicorn head. So yeah, don't throw those cracker cans away. They're actually pretty cool to decorate. Just use some cheap supplies to decorate, and then when you're done, if you have nowhere to store it, you can then recycle it at that point and throw it away completely, or you can definitely save it. So now I'm just going to tuck in the top pieces into the can and just put the can aside for a little bit. So now let's get started on creating our fireworks. So our fireworks, I'm using pool noodles and I'm cutting 3 different sizes. And I have red and blue, but really honestly, the color of the pool noodle doesn't matter because I end up wrapping them with some of my scrapbooking paper. So here I'm just flipping through my scrapbooking pad and just selecting 3 different design paper to wrap up my noodles. So the first thing that I do is just roll up the noodles on the paper so I can cut them down to size, and I do that with all 3 of them. Now you can attach the paper to these noodles using any type of glue format. You can use the clear glue, the wet glue, hot glue, tape, double-sided tape. It doesn't matter. I do choose to use Mod Podge. As you can see here, I'm just brushing it on right onto the noodle. So for me, I just find that to be easier. You can definitely use hot glue. It does dry faster, but just be careful with the hot glue. It does get really hot. And if you are using hot glue, make sure that you add it to the paper itself and not the noodle, because it does melt down your noodle. So here you'll see that I placed the noodle down and I placed it on the ugly side of the paper because I trimmed it down, and this paper crafter cannot cut a straight line. So of course I started with the ugly side. And then there you saw that I added glue to the end of the paper just for a nice seal at the end. So now at the top portion, I snip the top into little sections, and then I just use my hot glue to attach it all down so it looks flawless in the top. Now on the bottom portion of my noodle, I don't do the same. I just trim it, and I'm sorry that I'm off frame completely at this point. But all I'm doing is just trimming off the excess paper. Nobody's gonna see the bottom portion of our firecracker. So now that we've completed the first one, let's go ahead and repeat our steps to complete the other two. So again, I'm just brushing on the Mod Podge directly onto the noodle, and then you roll up the noodle onto the paper. The trick here is that you want to use your hands to massage in the paper onto the noodle. You want to work that glue around. So just keep rubbing the noodle up and down, you know, trying to eliminate some of those air bubbles. And then again, at the edge of the paper, add some more Mod Podge for a nice seal. So here again, I'm trimming the top into little sections so I can hot glue that portion down. So on the second noodle, I decided to also trim the bottom portion of it into the little strips so I can glue it all down. But later on in the video, you'll see that I had to end up ripping that piece off because it didn't work when I needed to attach it to my foam that goes into the can, but you'll see more about that later. So there, now we've completed the second firework, and now on to the third one. Now to decorate, I have one of these pinwheels and I attach that one to the largest firecracker. And for the other two, I'm using this star wire. I think I bought this at Dollar Tree. I don't even remember. It's been so long since I've had it. But I'm using a glue stick here just so I can wrap it around the stick to make these little springs. And these are going to be attached to the top of my firecrackers. So again, my apologies that I'm on and off camera here, but that's all you do here. You just make these little springs and then attach it to the top of your firecracker. Now I do trim up a little piece of paper and I place a blob of hot glue to the top of the noodle and attach my spring, and then I use this little paper here to press down the spring into the hot glue so I don't burn myself. But again, please be very careful because it does get really hot. So here you'll see that I start putting on my little silicone fingers because I always tend to burn myself when crafting. But there you go. This is what it looks like. Super, super cute. So now I'm going to repeat the steps to create one more set of these little springs to attach to one more of my noodles. So here are 2 of my 3 fireworks. And now to the bottom of my fireworks, I'm actually pulling the stakes out of those solar light, what was left of it. I'm just pulling the black piece out of it, the one that goes into the ground, and I'm hot gluing it inside of the pool noodle. And that's how I'm going to insert these fireworks into the styrofoam ball that I've tucked into my cracker can. So now I don't want my styrofoam ball to be that far in the can, so I'm going to add a little more filler. But here you'll see me placing my fireworks in place, just placing them around to see how it's going to look. So this is that one noodle where I had sealed both ends. So I'm ripping apart the bottom piece so I can tuck in one of those stakes. So here we go. I'm adding hot glue and I'm inserting the stake. So now I'm placing it into my styrofoam ball for placement. Now to add filler into my can, I added a few grocery bags, and here I'm just adding a couple of paper towel rolls just to give it some height so it doesn't drop all the way down to the bottom of the can. So now I decided I want to add this star from the Dollar Tree also. And before I add that, I'm just covering all the styrofoam at the bottom with some of this red filler. Now I take my white star and I place it in the front to see how it looks. So far I like the look of it. So here I add a little bit of hot glue to my pinwheel and attach it to the tallest firework. So far I love the way it's coming out, but I feel like it's still missing a little something. So I decided to make 2 bows to attach to the 2 small pinwheels in the front of my centerpiece. So here I just took some blue mesh, some of that red ribbon, and some of that burlap, and I'm just attaching them together using some pipe cleaners to make a small little bundle. So that's what I'm making, 2 little bundles. And it's just to give it a little bit of texture, just a little more character to the front of my centerpiece. I love adding these little silly bows to my projects. The combination of different textures, it just really looks cool. So here I am just ducktailing my ribbon on both of my little bundles. So here I'm just attaching one of the bundles to my little pinwheel, and it is sliding down. So I decide to add just a little pin drop of hot glue to the stick, and then I push up the little bundle so it'll stay nice and secure where it's at. So now let's bring in our centerpiece and let's tuck in these pinwheels, and I'm just attaching them to the front, right in front of my fireworks. And the star, I didn't hot glue the star down because I do want to repurpose that star for something else. But here I'm just tucking it in. If I was to place this centerpiece outside, then I recommend that you hot glue that star down or add a skewer or something to the back where you're able to tuck it in. And here is our finished project. I loved how this turned out. I really didn't know what I was going to do, but it came out super cute. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Take care.